know that the all decisions that a person is taking are emotional decisions. The decisions are taken in the limbic system, which was earlier called the reptile brain. So it was not really, hadn't very high status. But that's the sort of older part of the brain. It's a non-verbal part of the brain. So, and this is very important for marketeers and for brand builders. We have to think about this, that the decisions that we are taking are first taken in a non-verbal way. With other words, we are watching what people are doing, we are looking at things, we are seeing images and stuff. So this is very, very important thing. Then when the limbic system needs then to sort of communicate the decision, the limbic system goes up in the neocortex, the new part of the brain, to find facts and figures and the vocabulary, to dress it in a vocabulary. This is what we all the time had. We had an expectation that it was like that, but now we know for sure science has proved this, because we have a MRI scanning of very advanced, so we can see exactly what happens all the time when people are taking decisions, so we can sort of follow that path. So with other words, when you do branding, you have to think about that. It's this limbic system, that's where we target our brands, and that's where we have to start. And the third factor is social networking. Never before in the history of humankind have we got so much data on people communicating with each other. We're not having just like before. It was kind of in a lab stage. And it was hypothesis is that you couldn't really sort of evaluate it. You have to rely on people's statements. Now we have hard data on what people are doing. What are they talking about? Who are they talking to? And how do they communicate with each other? What's the topics? And how many? And the very interesting thing is that which was found out is that even people have like 500-600 maybe friends on Facebook. But the truth is that we only communicate with about 8 to 10 people. 80% of our time, 8 to 10 people. So we are actually communicating in a much smaller circle than a lot of people have imagined in this new technology era. And this means that the more pressure we have from more information and stuff, the closer we get to some people we really know, and we observe what they're doing, not always talk about brands and stuff, but we actually see how they are behaving and what choices they make, and we follow people very much in that way. And it's a very small group of people. So a marketeer today has to get into these smaller groups of people, 8 to 10 people. You have to have people in there. So you have to work in a different way to get your brand ambassadors, or the people who sort of are active in that way. And some companies have been successful with this. Mini Cooper did a launch of a new car in the United States. And instead of doing an advertising campaign in a traditional way, with big, lots of media buying and stuff, they put all the money in the hands of existing Mini Cooper owners. So these owners got all the information, all the resources, could do all this test driving and everything, getting a car for a week maybe and just, playing with it, etc. And that was a very successful campaign. It was the best campaign ever that Mini Cooper have done in the United States. So there are companies who understand this, that the new type of marketing is to get into this smaller circle and work there. Now, very important is also how do you approach this with the brand idea. And these circles which Simon Sinek produced and wrote a book about, I think, and I talked to him, asked him if I could use them for my purpose, which is sort of branding very much. Most companies are talking about what they're doing. A few companies are talking a little bit on how they are doing things. Very few is talking about why they are doing things. And there is a company here in the Valley who actually started to, when the owner was pushed out and came back to his companies to take over it again, the first thing he did was to think, of course he was thinking a lot about coming back, should I really come back and so forth. why should I come back? What is the purpose and meaning of that? And he formulated that very well. But very quickly he turned from this kind of philosophical ideas into very much a how. What kind of evidence do I have for doing this? And that he did very well also. And then first in the third step, he started to talk about what are we doing, what kind of products, and you probably know which company this is. And that's why, if, for instance, a lot of computer companies tried to launch phones, or were into this idea of launching phones, but they realized that they could not do it because they were actually they were so labeled as computer companies, so they could not be accepted to have a phone in their product range. And this design and this user experience that was part of Apple's how was, of course, connected to this bigger thing to challenge the status quo and to make a difference. So this is a little bit about how branding has changed now from a very much a focus on what and now gradually into other levels. Now, I already said that we have two types of brands. Transaction brands is one of is the old-fashioned, the old school of branding, and relation brands is what I call this new type of brand. Now, if we look at these brands, we can see that transaction brands, they are part of the industrial complex. They are actually an extension of the industry. So it was a very mechanized marketing idea, very pushy, educating a lot, because the industry produced products that was not introduced before, so you have to train people, teach people how to use them. And and these brands were very much focused on a product, so it was basically the product itself that was the brand. And when Coca-Cola tried to do something else than this classical Coca-Cola under that name, it was immediately rejected, and they tried a few times. So this is a very narrow bandwidth, we would say, in communication today that these brands were operating on. Some of them are still very good brands and so forth, and so it's not about preference if it's good or not. It's just a different type of branding with a different history and a different purpose. Now, relation brands, of course, came about with internet, but actually the relation brands are the oldest brands, the brands that existed before before industrialism, before it was goods were mass produced. People had a relationship to their suppliers. They had a relationship to their shoemaker or to their shirt maker or their dairy farm or whatever. And these relationships was in the family then, and friends and family. Now, of course, through the internet, we have extended the same kind of friendship and relationship kind of idea to a lot of other people. Here you have a sample of different brands that are relation brands, and you can see that some of these brands are not actually all new brands. IBM, for instance, is a pretty old brand, and the story there was that IBM realized after realized when they could not keep on the hardware side because of competition, they were forced to find a new business idea, and they realized that their biggest asset was the relationship they had with top management in the big corporations in the world. Actually, some of their old employees were CIOs in most of these companies, etc. So that was the reason why Lou Gertner changed the company in direction to becoming a solutions provider instead of. So you could say sometimes this has been sort of accidental, you know. But basically, there's a lot of difference here. It's very much faster to build. Of course, it's much purpose focused. extending to new categories much easier. You know, the transaction brands were focused on one category only, and there's the storytelling is very important, of course, non-traditional media, etc., etc. So it's a lot of difference here. Now, the easiest way to operate a relation brand now, if you really want to take this on and work with it, which I, of course, recommend you, because this is the way forward. If you want to be successful today, you have to build a relation brand, in my opinion, because otherwise it's very, very, very hard and very lengthy. And that was a big difference also. The transaction brand needed a lot of money, lots of investment. It was a very expensive way. You had to buy a lot of advertising, and that was very costly. Now, so if you want to operate this, you have to go back to something we all know about. Is someone who doesn't have a friend here? No, so we all have some kind of experience of friendship. And this friendship is a very delicate model for how a brand actually works today. So if all your experiences as a person with friends, and the troubles you have had, and the good moments you have had with this, it's very important. And oh, sorry. Okay. So this is basically a little bit what we know from friendship. Actually, this is the takeouts of friendship. Surprise is very important. Doing things together very important, and creating loyalty. All these things are very, very important for the relation brand. Now, a little example.
There's a message from me in the air control. Crazy horses riding everywhere. One shot and it goes smoking up the sky. Yeah. Crazy horses on the rise in the USA. Crazy horses. Crazy horses.
This is not a very typical commercial for an airline, and it is not a commercial only for an airline. Obviously, Virgin has a lot in its Brandscape. I call this the Brandscape. They are in very many different categories. And when I met Richard Branson the first time, I was flying balloon with him through a Swedish friend of mine from the Swedish Air Force. I was a fighter pilot there, and I had this guy who later became a world-leading constructor of balloons, hot air balloons. We were flying together, and then he asked me, and as you heard, I was a brand advisor. He told me about how he was ridiculed in London at that time because he had used the same name for so many different categories. He was told he was naive or amateurish, and he didn't know anything about branding and so forth. And he took this very seriously. So when he asked me then what do I think about this, I was just in the process of actually writing my book then, and then I sort of told him that the thing is that, Richard, that you are ahead of the others. You are introducing something new, and a new thinker. New thinkers have historically always been ridiculed, and this is what they do with you as well. You will find out later on that you are actually before. And the reason why this has worked very well for him, despite all the critics he got, is very much that it's built on another mechanism. The brand is creating a relationship with people, and under this sort of umbrella that is created, you can access a lot of different products and do a lot of things, and it's based very much on loyalty. It's also based on surprise. It's also based on sort of certain values that are common, and that's demonstrated, of course, with Richard Branson himself as a person. So this is, and the thing that keeps it all together is a motto, And this is one of the techniques I'm using. I'm always creating when I work with branding. I create a motto, a very strong motto. And revolutionary entertaining is the beacon with which he had been taking his management decisions. So a brand is a management tool. It decides. It helps to decide how should I do my product development. What companies should we maybe acquire or not, etc., and how to develop your business. And revolutionary entertaining is two words that everyone understands, but the combination of these two words from different areas of human sort of life and activity is making it more precise and exact.